Melissa believes that this phase of the pandemic has been a time to completely rejuvenate, where deeply connecting with family has come to become a great priority. Besides, she has found the time to find meaningful pursuits for herself and her family. According to Melissa, this time need not be disregarded or written off. Instead, it should be seized as a time to grow and change.
The COVID pandemic has hit us all across the world, maybe in varying intensities, and how it has hit women in different parts of the world who may be working or taking care of the children is something very interesting to hear and capture. I have with me a beautiful lady, Melissa Bacani, right from Hong Kong. She works in the financial services sector in Hong Kong and she's a mother of three children. So let's hear from Melissa. How is she managing work, life, and how is she engaging children at home? And what are some of her interests that she's pursuing? Hi, Melissa. Thank you for being on Her Stories.
Hi, Risha. Very nice to be with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Melissa, you mentioned that you had recently written a blog on some personal reflections during the lockdown. So, what are some of those reflections that stand out for you?
I think that this time has been, as many people have acknowledged, has been a very unusual time, and I've seen some people say, let's write off 2020. I want a refund. I want my year back. But I
Hmm.
think that 2020 is not a year to be written off. I think 2020 for me will always stand out as a memorable year because I think it's been a year of growth and a year of change, because it's really forced us to think about many things about ourselves, about our world, about the relationships that we have with others, about our health. And so, as you said, I decided one day that I wanted to actually write some reflections that I've been thinking about this year 2020, because maybe one day I'd like to look back at what this year has really brought to us. Because even though it's been a difficult year, I think many of us will come out learning a lot about ourselves, and it will be an impetus for us to change for the better, hopefully, and make a difference in just the way we do things. So I guess for me, it's been a year of a time of reflection, a time of reconnecting. Definitely, I think that I have taken the opportunity to really reconnect with a lot of people. Ironically, it's taken a virus for us to reach out to people we have not seen in such a long time. I guess maybe it's the popularity of video platforms like Zoom and Skype and Google Meets, that people all of a sudden are saying, "Hey, what we haven't seen each other in such a long time. Let's catch up." So that has been a welcome thing, because I think we always think it's best to meet in person, and we will wait for that time when we meet in person, but actually there's nothing to stop us from actually reconnecting face to face via video, just like we are doing now. We haven't seen each other since London, but now we see each other face to face, and again, for this very reason, right?
Yes.
um, so it's rediscover, because now we have also um, more time at home, a bit more downtime because we're not socializing as much, we're not traveling. I think it's also about rediscovering maybe old passions, old hobbies. So one of the things that I have gone back to is actually playing the piano, which
Wow.
I used to do when I was much younger in elementary, high school, but I stopped doing because it just got so busy. Um, But yeah, that's one thing that I have managed to pick up again because I have more time. Another thing is really just spending more time, quality time with family, because now the kids are at home. The kids are obviously doing their online learning. And so I see them now more, and I've had to work from home. So it's really brought our whole family into the house. Whereas before everybody had their own different schedules. I was at work. Now we're all at home, and in a way, it's this being forced to be at home is good because we just get to notice more things about our children, our spouses that we just didn't really pay attention to.
Yeah.
We get to pay attention also to what they're actually learning and how they're learning, and just see, different. The kids are just so different from each other, and they have different learning styles, and you get to see as well how advanced, education has is. And I look at what my kids are learning now versus what I used to learn, what I was learning at their age. They really are more advanced. So I think, yes, this has been a time to really reconnect, to renew, to reboot, and to really, rekindle different new things.
Yeah, that's beautiful, to renew, to reboot, to rekindle.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
all
that's
ours.
quite rejuvenating. Yeah, that's very beautifully put, Melissa. And you are a mother of three children, and they are all in three different age groups. One is like just entered his teens, one is, as you mentioned, in the age bracket of 8 to 10, and one is still younger. So I think the interests are very varied. And then how do you manage to engage all three if they are not together? How do they connect, like, with you and keep themselves busy? And because of your work taking so much of your time, what is your role over there?
My role is really more to guide them. Um, I really try, and as much as possible, I don't want to always be, I don't want to be a helicopter mom and always hovering above them and just make, and because I think it's a bit stifling. So I'm trying as much as possible for them to learn to be independent. Um, I try nowadays, there's so much content online. So because they cannot spend too much time outdoors because they always have to be supervised if they are, just because we live in a city. I've been spending time just trying to find more things for them to do online. So like one of the things that, so my kids are learning Chinese.
Okay.
And they used to have tutors come to the house daily to help them with their homework. But because our tutors couldn't come because they had gone back to China, we had to find other ways for them to keep up with their Chinese. And one of the things that we've done is actually found tutors online in China. And actually that's worked really well for them. So that's one example. The others is just finding games online, educational games. I found a great website where, like, my youngest son loves to read books and he loves to have people read to him. And I found a great website, for example, that you have people reading the books to the kids. No ads, nothing. It's not a YouTube. It's and the books. They're able to show the books and the illustrations. So it's really so engaging. So I think nowadays online content, as long as it's been screened and as long as you are able to supervise that, works fine. So I know there's a balance between screen time and being able to socialize, and that's been really challenging. At this time when we've spent so much time indoors. But when the weekend comes, when I'm not working and when the kids are off school, we've actually taken the opportunity to really discover the city. I think many times we live in a place where we just take for granted things that are around us, because we tend to travel outside to look for new places. But actually there are many undiscovered hidden gems within the city we live in. And it's just a matter of making the effort. So that's one of the things that we have done on weekends. We've been doing a lot of hiking and just going to places that we've heard of or we've seen, but we just never bothered to go. But now, because we have time, and because we kind of like, we're travel restricted, it's a good thing then that we get to discover the city we live in.
Yes, of course. And I think a lot of people will resonate with that thought, because now that the international travel and even domestic travel to a certain extent needs to be curtailed, it's better we explore the place we live in. And that's how coming together and just, as you mentioned, finding the hidden gems where you are. So, Melissa, I was curious to know that you've been in the financial services sector for quite a while now, for many years. And in your experience, this is a very unique situation, if I may say so. Like, the pandemic has not left anything untouched. So, what are your thoughts on this? How has the sector been affected? And what are some of the recovery or the continuity plans that you think of need to be there in place?
Well, as I had mentioned to you earlier, Hong Kong was we were very much affected last year by the protests that were taking place in the city. And so as early as last year, we were already thinking about our business continuity plans, just making sure that our staff, continue to be safe, and that nobody was putting themselves at risk commuting to work. And therefore, at that time, we were already thinking about and instituting flexible work practices. So people could already work from home if they were uncomfortable traveling, commuting into work. And so in a way, that set the groundwork for us to really be prepared for what came ahead this year during the crisis. So when the virus hit Hong Kong, just because of the close proximity to China, we already had many of these continuity plans in place. And we've really tried to make sure that one of the things that we've done is really split our workforce into teams, so that not everybody is in the office at the same time. So we've had team A, team B, and then what we call a split team that is permanently, or most of the time, will be out in another location. So just in case the teams get infected, there's still another team that is not infected and can still continue to support the various client servicing that we have to do. So for example, in my team, we have been working from home since late March, and not everybody is comfortable working from home. I think that there were definitely some adjustments for some team members to just have to work from home 100%. But I think that by now, most people have gotten accustomed to it. They've managed to set up, their own workspaces, and then I think what is key during this time is really being able to communicate and connect with everybody else. And I think infrastructure definitely is key. Having the right infrastructure, one is not just your Wi-Fi connection, but having the software and the systems that you can actually work seamlessly, whether you're in the office or at home. And I think we've all come to realize that productivity levels actually are not affected. I think most people are able to work just as productively at home as in the office. In my case, unfortunately, I feel that I work longer hours. There's been what I call a work creep, because rather than it's been very hard, for example, for me to separate my work time from my home time, just because my desk is very close to where I live. It's where I live. So, I can just easily, if I see an email come up, I can easily just go log back in and then just answer that email, directly, rather than wait for the next day, which, I would kind of do. But since it's there already, my computer's just there, it's on. I just go back in. And so I think that I've heard that comment more from a lot from other people, that they've found this hard to switch off from, from work, because at work you just pack up your things and go home, and then that's it, it's the end of the day. But with your computer at home, some people have given different tips, like turn off your computer, shut the door if you have an office. Somebody else had suggested, she uses her work shoes during her work hours, and then she takes off her shoes when it's time to end the day. So there are different ways to cope with with trying to delineate work and your life, your home life.
But I think that's the case with a lot of people, that what they call is now your life and your work integration is so strong that you really don't know how to separate the two. And I like these tips, changing shifts and stuff. Yeah. So that's interesting. And Melissa, like now maybe you have to sometimes go for in-person meetings, or you prefer to have virtual calls. So what is the experience like when you are there in person? Is it just the same like when you meet people and have a meeting face to face, or it's just like you feel different around more people with you? I mean, after resuming work, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's we were discussing this with some colleagues, and we were thinking that the business etiquette around business meetings will definitely change. Just to share with you that, at the beginning, sometime when we all had to work from home, and a lot of offices actually had most of their employees work from home, I had to go and physically sign some legal documents at one of at the law firm, and where the client was going to be there. And we all arrived at the meeting room, all wearing our masks. And the the impulse when you meet somebody, when you're introduced and you introduce yourself, is to extend your hand and give a handshake and smile at that person. Now it was quite awkward because we were all introduced and we couldn't shake the hands, and we just did a wave like this, and it felt a bit too casual to wave. And so we're all saying, and then how some people were saying you can do the elbow, but the elbow again is too or the fist, it's just too casual for business. And so we're thinking, what do we do in these circumstances when you want to actually connect with a person physically? I mean, by handshake or a smile, but you can't really. So we said, maybe the best one is to do, the mask design, and that probably will be just as good. But so it's just those, it's the smaller things really that we took for granted and now we can't. And things like, as I was saying, when you're in a meeting and you're being offered, a drink, coffee or water, but you realize once you've had the coffee in front of you that having to drink that coffee means you have to remove your mask and drink it. And so I've actually now just refrained from just getting any drink during a meeting, because that means that I have to take off my mask. And again, nowadays, people, you don't really know how people feel about things. It's quite a sensitive subject, I think. Some people are okay without a mask, some people don't. So even if I'm at a meeting where it's just two people, I put on my mask. Because I'm always worried that the other person might not be happy if I speak to them without my mask. So, for instance, at my desk, I take off my mask because I'm just in front of the computer. But then when a person comes to see me, I'm again forced to put on my mask because again the person may not like it that I'm speaking to them without my mask. So it's these small things that where you just have to be more sensitive. Same thing goes as well with meetings. You don't know whether the person would, is okay to meet face to face or would prefer a phone call or a video call. And again, the degrees of interaction vary depending on what medium you use. But I think the people now are just more used to, I've accepted the fact that videos probably are fine. And so I think, I think that we will probably use more video. Although it does require more preparation. Just because it's harder to read body language and signals when the person is on a screen as opposed to right in front of you.
That's very interesting, Melissa. Some things that just go unnoticed. That what would a person prefer? Are we going to wear a mask, or is it like, do we do this handshake now, or just maintain that distance? And the change in our approaches, in our interactions, and how that goes with different people. That's very
Yeah.
interesting as a
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, and even among my circle of friends, you also don't know who are happy to meet in bigger groups, who are happy to just meet.
Yeah.
You're because you're always trying to be sensitive to other people, because some people might have illnesses or might have a weaker immune system, for example. You don't know that. And so, or they might be living with elderly parents, and so they're worried about potentially bringing in a virus into their home. So you don't know those circumstances of people. It's quite awkward as well to ask. So I think nowadays you tend to err on the side of just being cautious and not assume, and ask politely, I guess. What would you prefer, and not assume that it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And Melissa, thank you for joining us and bringing in such interesting glimpses of your life, the context of your work, the context of your country, and the way you've been thinking about what business etiquette could look like and how we can just take this forward without making it awkward for anyone. These are some very interesting insights. And thank you for being with me, spending this time. It is great to be in touch. Thank
Yes,
you, Melissa.
thank you. Thank you.